This video will help you understand the zero power exponent rule. The zero power exponent rule says that if you have any non-zero base raised to the zero power, the result is 1. So off to the side, you see that I have a to the 0 and it equals 1. So sometimes this rule is kind of hard to wrap our mind around. So let's look at it a couple different ways before we actually go simplifying expressions that have 0 for a power. If you have x to the 4th divided by x to the 4th, and we just think about fraction rules, fraction rules tell us that whenever our numerator and our denominator are the same, it equals 1. So we have the same thing on top and bottom, so it equals a whole. Another thing that we need to remember is our quotient rule. Our quotient rule says that you keep your base and subtract your powers to simplify. So here I'm going to keep the base of x and then I'm going to subtract my powers. Doesn't matter where I start, but if I just start at the top, 4 take away 4 is 0. So logic tells me if these are all three equal to each other, that really is another way of saying that x to the 0 power is equal to 1. So hopefully that'll kind of help shed a little bit of light on this somewhat confusing exponent rule. So let's go ahead and simplify some expressions that have 0 as a power. Number 9, x to the 0 power. Well, my base is x, it's being raised to the 0 power, so it's 1. Number 10, 5 to the 0 power. My base is 5, but it's being raised to the 0 power, so it's 1. Now, number 11, we have negative 4y raised to the 0 power. Now, the only base that's getting the 0 power here is the y. So we need to think about this really as negative 4 times 1, which is negative 4. So that one simplifies to negative 4. But looking at number 12, we have negative 4y raised to the 0 power. And here, everything is being wrapped inside the parentheses, so all of this gets the 0 power. So that whole base gets the 0 power, which means it simplifies to 1. So it's back to how important parentheses are. Number 13, k to the 0 plus 7 to the 0. Well, this can look very confusing, but let's break it up. K to the 0 power. Well, k is the base, it's raised to the 0 power, so it's 1. Plus 7 to the 0 power. 7 is the base, it's raised to the 0 power, so it's also 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So again, we have to be very careful and ask ourselves, what is getting the power of 0? And then whatever gets the power of 0 turns into 1. Let me do one more example. It's not on your paper, but let's look at this one because it can be confusing. I'll put a star by it. So if you have negative x to the 0 power, well, what happens here is the 0 is only going to the base of x. So x to the 0 is 1, and then I have to bring down that negative. So that one simplifies to negative 1.